Hey everybody, welcome back to Rust Belt Diecast Customs. Today we're going to be doing a fun build here and creating some realistic rustic road rash for Gaslands, Mad Max style, post-apocalyptic type of stuff. We're going to start with this 1967 Dollar General exclusive Camaro from Hot Wheels. As you can see, we stripped off the tampos using a method with nail polish remover, which I'll have in another video. What we did was we just took the car apart, set it aside there, and then we ran a Dremel tool using that wheel cutter across the edge, dug in a little bit to get those ridges in there where we can fill in with rust then later on. You can see how three-dimensional those ridges look. It looks like a nice little road rash gash. We're going to start off the process here with three different paints: a dark brown, a light brown, and an orange. Make sure it's a nice rusty orange. Then we have some sponges, some foam pieces cut into random patterns, and I'll show in a minute a little bit closer up. And then we have our little palette, which I just use a chunk of cardboard for that usually. So here's our sponges, our little pieces of foam that are actually cut off of a foam brush. And you can see that they're cut into random shapes, but you want to make sure that a couple of them are pointed. Then we'll take our casting here, start with the dark brown to fill it. And we're just going to blob it all in there. Really fill it in. This is going to be our shadow portion to make it a little more three-dimensional. So you blob it on and then smear it off with the dry part of the foam, and then blob it on again. And we'll do this a few times to really get the look that we're going after. The more you get in, the darker you're going to have for your finished product. On this one, we want it to go pretty dark because the car is so light. We want a really good contrast there between the original car paint and the road rash gash. And you can see that it goes into any scratches that are on the car. So you can do this with sandpaper even. Scratch up the paint. We'll do that in another video too, where we scratch up the paint with sandpaper. I love the way that that looks when it's all done. Now we're taking a little bit of the lighter brown and getting in, and that'll just give a little bit of a highlight to the edges. So the dark brown is going to go deep, and then the light brown will settle above because we gave the dark brown just a couple seconds to dry. And these acrylic paints dry very quickly, especially when we're putting them on so lightly. You can see the light brown, I'm getting into all those little scratches because that would be more of a lighter rust. That wouldn't be such an old rust, you know, it'll flake off easily. You want to make sure that each time you're wiping off any excess that gets on the paint, because as we do want the paint to look a little worn around the rust, we don't want paint to build up on the original paint because it'll just look gloppy. It won't work as well for the look we're going for. So now we'll switch over to combining a little dark and light, so we'll have a third brown color, and we're going to go over the top of everything with that. So what that does is it fills in the edges just a little bit more and gives it even more dimension, which is what we're looking for with this. It already is three-dimensional because the gash is cut directly into the vehicle, but we want to make it even more three-dimensional so it really pops. It's a dramatic look. Now here's where your sponge comes in, where it's going to be cut to a point. You want to dip that point into the orange paint, and we just want a little bit of that. So what we're going to do is dab it off on the palette and then just tap it in there. And the way that the sponge is cut will affect the way that the paint goes onto the car. So this is a point. So as you press in, it obviously gets wider. So you'll be pushing down to get wider blotches of orange, or just tapping just the outside to get little tiny blotches. You want to rub it off with your finger as you're putting it on, and put a lot on to start, and then with your finger you're just going to dab and rub it off so that it gets across the surface parts. We don't want to get too much of the rust deep inside because that'll affect the contrast, and then it just looks like a muddy blob, where we want really nice rust. And you can see how that's coming along. Next, probably my favorite thing to do with the rust is make it look like it's wet rust, I guess you could say. And when we do these streaks coming down, that adds so much to the effect. So you just get a little bit of orange and you're gonna glob it on and run it down like that. And you can see how it looks like the rust got wet and ran down the side like it was sitting in a junkyard for a long time. This particular vehicle, the look I'm going for is that it got hit by a snowplow or something, and then somebody tossed it in the junkyard, and this guy is pulling it out, using it for Gaslands or post-apocalyptic time or whatever. So it's got to look like that gash has been sitting in a junkyard for many winters, just rusting away. I want to get a little bit back here too, because that'll give the effect that the wind kind of pushed it along as it was sitting there in the junkyard, you know, a good strong breeze. But that's about it, guys. So you can see that looks, and we'll show a finished photo in a second here. But it's a really simple process. I love working with these acrylic colors. They're easy to do, easy to use, and you can see the final product there is just amazing. So guys, thank you so much for watching. Check back for more how-to videos. I'm gonna be doing more and more of them now. I'm getting back into the how-to stuff. So thank you for watching. Subscribe if you're new. Right down there below the video, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for notifications so you can see the latest stuff. Thanks guys, we'll see you next time.